Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And this is our spoiler review for episode 10 of Lovecraft Country, and the episode is entitled Full Circle. And wow, did we come full circle with this final episode?
I mean, we've been building up to this for the entire season. We've been so excited to see how exactly they were going to end all of this.
Wow.
And I really like the way that they kind of brought all the pieces together. They did a really excellent job on just telling this story.
Though, well, okay, I can't get into it before we give our disclaimer and a spoiler warning. So, as you saw from the title, this is a spoiler review. So, if you still haven't watched Lovecraft Country, which, by the way, what are you doing? Go watch it. Watch it now. I would suggest come back to this video after you're caught up with the show or after you finish the show. Come on back and watch this episode because we will be discussing spoilers in this video. With that said, let's get right down to it. So, episode 10, I want to say we've come a long way, but I honestly feel that this series was like one episode too short.
Yeah.
I would have loved episode 10 to have been split into 1 and 2, so we explore just stay with these characters just a little bit longer, because I am honestly not ready to say goodbye to
Of course,
any of them.
if they did have an episode 11, we might also be sitting here going, I wish they would have had an episode 12.
Do it!
Because
episode 12.
this show was just, they did a really good job on just building on top of each episode.
Yeah.
And slowly bringing you into the story and bringing you into just where exactly. And I just can't explain how well they just built it up. I just really like the structure of it.
I really do like the structure of it well, for especially some of the episodes where they really gave a character the entirety of an episode to build their story, to build their arc. And we saw that with Hippolyta, we saw that with Ruby, and we saw that with Gia. And even a little bit with Montrose, which is really, really, really nice. And Dee even got her own, her story. Basically I would say every single character got their fair share of story exploration, though I wished for more Gia throughout the later series after she was finally properly introduced.
Yeah.
I wished there was a little bit more of her sprinkled in throughout episodes.
That is probably one
9
thing.
and
8, 9, and 10.
8, 9, and 10, right?
Because she showed up in episode. She had her solo episode
7, 8,
in
9,
episode
10.
6.
Yeah.
And then she was gone for a little while, and then she pops back up.
For like a second.
I do wish, they would have done that to kind of spread her out and made her a little bit more integral.
I mean, who knows?
During
Maybe
the entire adventure.
Maybe
have
she
her
was
more part of the adventure group.
Maybe Jamie Chung was busy doing other stuff, and maybe it was a schedule. We don't know, but that's would have been our wish is just a little bit more of Gia integrated, especially like 8, 9, and 10, especially those episodes.
That is one thing, though, that I did really like about this series, is that each character had their moment to shine. And each character brought something new to not just the story, but how the struggle and how to work with each other, kind of a thing. So there was a lot of butting heads, and that's what creates great conflict and great storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think Lovecraft Country executed that very well.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and dig into episode 10. I mean, we're coming down to it, they've gone back in time. They went back to Tulsa. They got the book. So basically in this episode we know that they need a piece of flesh.
Oh my god, this part.
Of Braithwaite. And so they cast the spell, which is kind of interesting when Tick unbounded the book, when he spoke the language of Adam, and the book kind of broke, it's like, and it flipped open to that page. And even though they've been dealing with monsters and magic, everybody still went, did you see that? I'm like, guys, this is the most mild thing that you've experienced thus far. But okay. But I guess it is kind of intense because they're now casting the spells themselves. It's not Christina or somebody else casting a spell. So they're kind of like, oh, it worked. Maybe
them
it's
actually
more that.
working with the power themselves this time. And it's always been cool to see them start to do that, to start to learn, to be like, no, this is a power we are now going to take for ourselves.
Yes.
It's been denied to us for so many years, so now we're just going to take it, and we're just going to grab it by the horn, so to speak.
And they claim that, obviously, if you saw to the very end of the episode, they claim that magic is theirs. But they cast a spell, and together with the help of the ancestors, they brought Braithwaite, Titus back, getting a piece of the flesh where Atticus actually had to eat huh? And it was funny that Montrose is like pinch and swallow, and I was like, huh? What does that mean? Oh, no, no.
And you're just like, you're sitting there, you're going. Ugh. Yeah, it was one of those reflexes that even some of the more grotesque stuff
And
that
it
we had
wasn't a
seen,
small chunk. It was like a sizable piece
you
of
needed
flesh. And
you
then
needed
the
a
and
piece
the
of the ancestor in you.
and the like, oh god, I can't even. He drank. Okay, so that's what he needed. That's what they got. A lot of interesting things because we kept on wondering if, because we saw Gia have the vision that Tick was going to die. Obviously, we're all thinking there's got to be a way to around it. Even Tick himself said in past episodes, he's like, it is wrong. Like, we're gonna figure out a way and come to the end of it. He's struggling with having to make that decision for himself.
Yeah.
That's hard. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have to die in order for XYZ results, and also
Yeah.
having the people around him accept that as well. Like, that's hard. He's got a baby coming. He's got a woman that loves him. He's kind of got this different relationship developing with Montrose, having seen what
Yeah.
they've seen. So it's like you think about how far everybody has come to this point, and then that they can't change that. He's still going to die, and they lied to Montrose about it, obviously, because he may have been an asshole to Tick all his life, but at the end you kind of get where he's coming from and why he was the way he was, and that love for Tick was never really absent, even though he was kind of really hard on him about it. It was unfair, but especially towards the end where you're like, this man really, really loves his son.
Well, it's also the fact that, Montrose was only doing what he has experienced. It's like, how do you raise a kid? Well, the only way that you know is from what you got from your parents.
Yep.
So he was like, well, this is the way I know how to raise a kid, because this is all I've ever known.
Yeah.
And to see that and him struggling with that is such a powerful story to tell.
Yeah. I felt like there was a lot kind of ramping up to get us to, the final moments of this episode. And this is why we kept on saying that we wanted this episode to be split into two, because this episode had to move fast in order to cover everything from what they need in order to achieve the spell, to have the spell work, to seeing Christina's side of things, and the Christina and Ruby dynamic, and how Ruby's kind of torn between, she's got this new like relationship / friendship / something with Christina and her sister, and where are they going with this, and and Ruby's learning about like the magic and the potion, and it was a lot, and that's why I wished it was honestly just split, or if it was an extended episode so it had its time. But let's go ahead and fast forward to the final moment where Tick had to show up willingly. So they're walking in, they think they're prepared. I felt like we saw it coming.
Yeah.
But Ruby was not actually Ruby at the end. It was unfortunately Christina. And I was like, no, one of Ruby's arc was so good and you had to kill her. Why? Yeah. Well, I don't know if they killed her.
Technically she could just
comatose.
Be unconscious or comatose.
Yeah, that's technically comatose state is what Christina said. But who knows, if we do somehow get a season 2, could they possibly bring Ruby back, especially with the help of Hippolyta, who's literally seen everything now? Possible, but not surprised that Ruby was not sacrificed, but was killed so Christina can get ultimately what she wanted at the end. We always said that. Honestly, Christina was about Christina.
Here's a little bit of a theory that I have too, is that during this entire time, Tick knew, true, he had gone to the future. I think he had actually seen the fact that in order to get what they needed, he had to die. And in order to provide the future that he wanted for his child, he had to die. In
order for his kid to write their story in the book.
And a part of me also thinks that he knew that Ruby wasn't there. That wasn't Ruby.
Really?
Because he needed everything to kind of go a certain way in order for them to have what their ultimate goal was, which was to steal, hijack Christina's spell so they can use their spell in order to make it so all white people were no longer able to use magic.
Yeah, and Christina unfortunately had one up on them because she caught Ruby trying to steal the potion because, for a bit of blood and flesh. Unfortunately, Ruby wasn't successful. But what helped them was that they had Gia. They had Gia there, and Gia was able to kind of be that final connection between them, and therefore making the spell, well, bounding Christina and taking magic away from her work. But she was not able to prevent Tick dying, and it was so grotesque the way he was hooked up to that crazy machine, and she slit, like, I was just like, how do you survive that? That's so it was so hard to watch.
I was just like, okay, now all theories aside, now we know that Tick is gonna die.
I was actually holding my breath until the credits rolled. I was like, I mean, maybe this world is filled with magic. You don't know. We don't know. Maybe the ancestors will pop back up and be like, hey, we're great. You passed the test and revive.
Good job, Tick.
Yeah, it didn't work that way. But sometimes it's necessary for, a full circle story, if you will, kind of taking that title. And I appreciate a show and a story that's not afraid to kill off its lead character.
Yes.
Because that means the story, you're not trying to how do I want to say this? Like, you're not keeping as in, so the fans can get the full service of the story, as opposed to, well, we just want, like, if you're a lead character, you're safe.
Yeah.
And I felt like we should have known this coming when they kill Uncle George.
Oh, yeah, in what, the second episode?
He didn't even die in the book.
I know. And I'm just like, but this is the thing, though. This is where you have good storytellers.
Yeah.
Because that is part of what made Tick's story arc so amazing, is his sacrifice in the end. Knowing that he's going to die and still having the strength to go forward. The people who, even if you took it in a real world sense, people who volunteered to go out to war during World War II, to sacrifice themselves so their families and their country can be safer, kind of a thing, and to be kind of like, none of them died, kind of a thing. It cheapens their sacrifice. It cheapens, and to have that sacrifice just be that burden that Tick is fully carrying. It's a little bit of like the Jesus story, He knows he's going to die, but he's dying for other people. He is sacrificing himself, and it shows that great level of character in a story arc.
Overall, this episode was... I don't want to say it was my favorite, because I felt like it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good. But I felt that because they had that... I felt like they needed to fit that under an hour time limit. I don't even know if they had a time limit or if they could have broken that, but I did feel that this episode was rushed a bit. I would have liked to see either an extended or part 1, part 2. Mm-hmm. I think that would have served the overall episode better. But aside from that, it's still an excellent episode. The series is excellent. It's probably my favorite TV show of 2020.
Yes, I do have to admit, this is a really good, full and complete story. Even though, I don't know, did we... no, Watchmen didn't come out in 2020.
No, it was...
No, that's 2019.
Yeah. Really, really fantastic show, and
not just good story arcs. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's also great commentary on so many social issues that are going on today. So I think it was that great story and great social commentary.
Yes,
on
and
so
the use of
things.
Sound bites, speeches, poems, music. I love it all. It just all blended together so well. Misha Green did a fantastic job. Everybody on the team did a fantastic job. I almost there's one part of me that wants to get a season 2, because I don't want to say bye to the remaining characters, but a part of me don't want a season 2, because this is honestly, we can leave it this way.
Yeah, this is a really nice, everything's kind of closed and everything's kind of tied off nice with a bow.
Yeah.
If they did do another season, I wouldn't mind seeing a different group of people.
Really?
Kind of thing. To where you're still in this world, you still have this magic, you still have maybe focus a little bit more on some other Lovecraft stuff.
Like the beasts,
like
and
the
beasts,
monsters? Cthulhu.
Okay.
Because that was something that they did very well. I think is walking that line of talking about insanity and losing a part of yourself kind of a thing. And I think that is a great story and a great theme to continue telling different kinds of Lovecraftian stories.
Yeah. And I also just wanted to, before we end this review, I just wanted to point out that I love that they called out Afua, who
Oh,
that was
yeah.
because when, Dee obviously they broke the curse, but it wasn't 100%. Her arm was all messed up, and the poor girl, like, she had already gone through all this stuff. She wakes up and her arm is just like, you saw it was just rotted and petrified
Oh,
almost looking.
it
Looked,
looked like it was like mummified.
oh gosh, poor thing. And obviously being angry with all the right reasons, and her mom kind of slides in like a future comic, a comic book from the future. She was like, where did
Hmm.
you, and it's of Arithia Blue, I believe. She's like, where did you get this? And she's like, Afua showed it to me, or Afua.
And yeah, I
And that
love
was
that.
like Afua, if you don't know, she's a comic book artist, and she actually did all the artwork of when Dee would draw her comics. It was actually Afua, and on Twitter, Afua actually said like, "Oh, when I saw this moment, I cried," and I love that so much, and I was like, "Yes, acknowledgement, yes, yes, yes," because maybe people didn't know
And yeah, and I love the fact that she did not know.
that they
They
were
did
gonna
not.
do this.
They didn't. She did not know that they were going to drop her name in the series. And I find that great. I love the fact that it's like, hey, this is we have some time traveling, multi-universal, multi-dimensional
Yeah, and
kind
why
of
not?
travel.
Yeah,
Why not? Why not say that Hippolyta came to our universe, learned how to
she came to
draw,
our Earth.
came to our Earth, and learned how to draw from the person who did the artwork
It's
that
amazing.
made the series. And
Yeah,
I'm like, that is awesome. I love the fact that they did that.
yeah.
And even better the fact that they didn't tell the artist until they actually aired it.
Yeah, and she's just like, "Wait, what?" And then
Oh
you have
my
to
gosh.
pause and rewind and rewatch and then just cry about it because it's like
Mm-hmm.
how cool is that to be a part of, now you're a part of the story. So we love the series, as you can tell. We're always so excited to watch. If you haven't yet, my gosh, watch it. Watch it. You will love it. You guys know our favorite episodes already. If you already saw, if you kind of watched all of our reviews. So any final thoughts on Lovecraft
Well,
Country?
if you haven't watched it yet, you shouldn't be watching this
No,
video
this is true.
yet.
Unless you don't care about spoilers, I guess.
But yeah, definitely, I think this is a great series. Definitely worth binging. Definitely worth, just watching the whole thing. I think it would be really nice to just watch it from beginning to end without
Now
the
you
week
binge.
gap.
It was so hard. You're like, wait, and then every single week, I feel like I'm like in a fetal position on the couch, like, ah,
That
you
is
know.
another good point. At the end of watching all of these, you might feel kind of like, oh my God, curled up into the
Yeah,
corner.
it's pretty intense, but in the best way possible. So, thank you so much for hanging out with us as we went through all 10 episodes, and of course, give you our final thoughts on Lovecraft Country. Let us know in the comment section below if you would love to see a season 2.
Hmm.
And if we do get a season 2, would you want to see the original characters, if you want to see something a little different? Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.